Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women Are Worthy show, which is on the Women Are Worthy Network channel. First of all, we want to, do a little housekeeping because I'm telling you, if I don't do it, my assistant, she's going to be rolling her eyes and like, hey, Jackie. So if you want to join our tribe, you must subscribe. Guess who came up with that one? Moi. I told you I'm creative. Well, we have the pleasure today because we have a lot of things going on in society and the corporate culture. We have a phenomenal lady. Her name is Elise Giannasi. Elise is the director of HR and is known for her tactical focus on results. Elise is passionate about diversity and inclusion and the culture of the company. So I'm telling you, when I say this lady got it going on, she knows her stuff. She is just, I'm telling you. So get out your pen, start writing, take some notes. And if we have some HRs out there, people who aspire to be in HR, I'm telling you, she's going to be dropping some wisdom, some knowledge. And I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy this. Well, hello, Elise. How are you?
Hello, Jackie. I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, first of all, we want to thank you for taking your time because you could be with your family. So we really want to thank you for tuning in and just giving us some of your precious time. So I want to just jump right into it because we want to talk about your journey. Who in the heck wakes up one day and says, I just want to work in HR? How did you?
Great question.
How did you land or how did you get into HR?
So I did not wake up one day and say, oh, I want to work in HR. I definitely had an opportunity to take a role in HR that started my career. And it came about from one of my mentors. So I actually started my career doing business development management and ended up working for a woman who became a mentor of mine and a sponsor of mine. And when she left the company and went on to become an HR leader at another firm, because we had worked so well together, because I had helped her be successful, she had helped me be successful, she thought of me and called me and asked me to come join her team. And it was an HR strategy team. So I wasn't necessarily on an HR path to begin with, but because I believed in this visionary leader so much, and because I'd always had a passion for culture and been interested in diversity and just the way that people work, especially in the workplace, it can be really interesting to see how people's personalities manifest themselves when they come to work. And that had just always fascinated me. So when she came to me with this opportunity, I jumped on it. But it really came down to following this mentor that I felt very attached to because of how much she had helped my early career. And that's what got me started. And it kind of snowballed from there. And since then, it's been pretty linear for me. So I started in an HR strategy role where very early on I was able to work on projects that were targeted towards really helping employees' lives be better when they were at work, which was a really amazing thing to get to work on so early in my career, because a lot of HR careers start in areas that may feel more administrative, like learning about benefits and payroll and performance reviews and things like that, which I eventually did do and do now in my role and oversee that in my role. But I did not learn about all of those early HR things in my first job. But over time, came to see that I would need to know those in order to continue growing in HR. And that led me eventually to where I am now. So I continued to grow through various HR roles, expand my skill set, and eventually was able to land in my first leadership role, which is what I'm in now, and have been in this role for about 3 years.
Well, first of all, congratulations, okay?
Thank you.
Landing that role. And what I love what you're doing is you're looking at the employee on a holistic level, not just, okay, your performance, your evals, holistically, and I think people need to understand this. And I'm telling you, HR people, if you're watching, really, this is so important because this is making me feel, I don't work with in your company, but this would make me feel like you care about me as an employee. Not, I'm not just a number, I'm not just a timesheet, payroll, or what I'm bringing to the company. You want to make sure that holistically that I'm doing well as a human being. So you're not looking just at the profit, or the performance, you're looking at the peer as the employee. So I love that PPP. Oh, that's another PPP. I love that what you're doing. So with that said, you said 3 years. You mentioned something that you said this time and time again in our interview, and I'm such a proponent for this. You mentioned mentorship. How important is mentorship? Because it doesn't stop when you leave college. Everyone, I think, should have a mentor. So how important do you think for the career woman to have a mentor?
If anything, I think it should start or accelerate, turn the dial up on mentorship when you leave college, because those are the connections that are going to help you. So the same person that I worked with in that early job that I mentioned, I am still in touch with her today. She still provides mentorship. I don't work with her anymore, but she is still part of my own personal board of directors that's made up of mentors in all different areas in my own company where I work now, but also in companies I've worked in along the way. And those people still guide me and help shape my career. So it's really important. It's not just important for getting a job, though. It's important for growing your skills and just growing who you are as a human being. But those
Mhm.
things ultimately impact how you show up as a professional. So if I had to advise someone coming out of college, I would say start to build that board of directors early on. So, who is a mentor within the company where you work? Who is a mentor? Maybe you're involved in your community and you volunteer at a community garden. Is there someone in that volunteer aspect who may be a mentor to you? Um, is there someone from a past job who's still a mentor for you? Do you have a supper club? Is there somebody in your supper club or
Mhm.
your book club who maybe they're a peer mentor, but they are someone who can provide you objective coaching and guidance? I think you can find these people all over your life, and people want to help you, right? If you have a connection, they want to help you be successful. And I think there's a mutual component to mentorship where you can also help that person be successful as long as you're both in it, right? You know, they
Right.
they are providing you guidance. They want to see you grow, so you want to act on some of that feedback and then bring back to them what you've learned so that they are also growing as a mentor for sure. But it's so important.
We talk about you being passionate about diversity inclusion. Why are you passionate about it? In today's culture, this is so important. I notice now a lot of companies who didn't have it, they're now open to or hiring diversity inclusion directors or someone in that. So it's now like you were doing this, you're doing this now. But how important is that to a company, and why should companies be open to this?
It's so important to a company, and I agree. I've seen a lot of jobs popping up on LinkedIn for diversity and inclusion leaders, and I'm thrilled to see that this is being prioritized. I wish that it had been prioritized sooner, and I hope that this remains a priority for companies and that this is not something that's temporary. It's something that I'm keeping an eye on and watching for sure out in the market. Um, why is it important for a company? There are a lot of different reasons related to how your people feel. And like you said, treating like them like a holistic, a whole human being person. I think
Right.
that that is, you know, having an inclusive culture is a way to help people feel like they belong and that they are safe at work. They spend the bulk of their life at work. So it's really important for people to show up and feel like they belong there and that they are safe and included there. But then there's also a connection to a company's revenue, right? And their bottom line, which is when you have diverse backgrounds and diverse perspectives and ideas, it keeps it fresh. right? And it also allows the company to approach problems from different angles and to, I'm in a consulting firm, so we solve problems for our clients. We need a diversity of ideas and backgrounds so that we're able to bring fresh solutions to the table. And that in turn makes a client want to stick with you and buy more business. So there is a business case reason for it as well, of course. And then also as a company grows, in order to grow, they need to hire more people. And in order to attract diverse talent, they need to be known for having a diverse and inclusive culture. If you don't have that, it's going to be really hard to attract and retain diverse talent. So you also want to focus on developing all talent, but really considering what it means to develop your diverse talent and provide mentorship and development opportunities for them as well. Because with diverse backgrounds come diverse experiences and diverse ways of learning. And so you want to make sure that everyone feels accommodated and like I said, like they belong.
Why do you, okay, so now we covered that. You mentioned LinkedIn. LinkedIn. So many people, do you have any tips or tricks? Because you can place your resume on LinkedIn, but I still speak with people who have no unearthly idea how to work with LinkedIn.
Yeah. So I learned some tips a long time ago that I've still passed along, and I hope they're relevant because they've helped me. So they still seem to work. But I think that you do need to treat LinkedIn a little bit like you treat your other social media platforms, meaning you need to stay engaged. I don't mean you should post all your personal pictures on
Right.
LinkedIn. So let me
Right.
draw that distinction. But I think LinkedIn is a place to be engaged in the conversation if you want people to notice you and see that you are engaged in the work that you do and what you're passionate about. So I would encourage people to post articles that are in their areas of interest, to follow companies where they want to work so that they can see when jobs are popping up and available at those companies and just see what's relevant to them at that time. Consider sharing articles with people that you're connected to so that they see that you're thinking about them and that you're thinking about what's important to them and sharing it with them, just showing that you're engaged with your network, you're engaged with what's going on in society, and you're engaged with your profession. I think that's really important. And then the other thing, so that's kind of day-to-day maintenance, or even just spending time once a week to keep up with your network, reach out to people and get, accept invites and stuff. But in terms of how your profile looks, I think there's some things you can do to keep it looking clean and most up to date. So I think it's really important to go back through and make sure that your LinkedIn aligns to your resume, right? You want to make sure that they're talking to each other and that they are not incongruent, so that if someone looked at your resume and looked at your LinkedIn and said, wait, these are two different people, that's not good. So I would definitely make sure that they're connected. But you don't need to make your LinkedIn your resume either. It shouldn't be word for word. So I would say treat LinkedIn as the bulleted version of your longer resume there. Another
Now,
thing you could do is talk about, sometimes I list the books that I'm currently reading just as a potential conversation starter. And then I also spell out common misspellings of my name because I have a name that's very easy to misspell. And so I'll also put that on there too, just to help guide people to find me.
to engage. And, with that said, you mentioned books. What three books would you recommend? And
Oh, well, I've got one that's really great.
okay.
It's called The First 90 Days. So that is a book to read if you are starting in a new job. Those first 90 days, those first 3 months are pretty critical for you to be able to get some quick wins, but then also to set your vision for how you want to be in this role for the future. So that's a really great book that has some guidelines.
Okay, I'm
Um,
typing that in.
okay. Another book is called Executive Presence. And I think that's one that's important. least it's been important for me as a woman in the workplace, especially I work with a lot of men. And so I think that having a sense of what executive presence is really important. And I can get you the author. Her first name is
Okay.
Sylvia, and I'm forgetting her last name at this time. But that one's really important because executive presence is how you show up in many different ways. And so being able to look at it across multiple dimensions and apply that to yourself and how you show up as a leader or just as a team member is really important. And then a third book that I really love is called, I think it's called The Drama Triangle. And this is a book that is very short, but it really helps to help an individual navigate workplace drama. And what I mean by that is it's very easy to get into a victim mentality and
Mhm.
when you're in the workplace. And so this book helps you to figure out how to reframe going from being a victim to being a creator and helping yourself solve problems so that you are coming at it from a more positive angle and to challenge yourself and coach other people when you see them getting into this victim mentality.
So those are the three books. So now I talk to a lot of women, and I like to ask women who are busy with their jobs and their lives, what do you do for self-care? And how important is self-care?
Self-care is really important to me. It's not just face masks and bubble baths, though, but those are great. So if that's what you do for self-care, absolutely. I think over the last year, especially during the pandemic, self-care for me has been about quiet time and activities that help me to get quiet and go inside and check in with myself. So I do a lot of journaling. That's something I do every single day.
Wow.
And sometimes it's complete garbage, right? And I'm just emptying out whatever noise is in my head to get it out of my head because there's so much activity going on in there. It just helps me to calm down. Something else I do is I do meditate every day. Um, Sometimes it's high quality meditation, and sometimes I'm just listening to someone tell me to breathe.
Yeah.
But it's more about keeping up the habit than anything. And I really like to take very long walks through my neighborhood. So those are my three key things that are really important for my own self-care. And then, of course, there are other fun things to do, like taking care of my houseplants and spending time with my pets and husband and things like that. All of it goes in the self-care bucket. But I think those things I do to get quiet are really the most important things to keep me grounded.
What challenges have you had to overcome? And I'm asking that question because I'm sure someone else may be going through that now or may go through it. How did you overcome those challenges or maybe obstacles? Because you look like a woman that an obstacle comes in front of you, you go around it. If you can't go through it, you'll go around it or over it. And we want to, talk to these, young ladies who are going out into the workforce. When an obstacle or challenge happens, don't just quit. So if you can give like an example of what you did and how did you overcome, that would be so helpful, because that's one of the questions that when I was talking to a group of people, they wanted to know.
Sure. So you're right, don't quit, but also don't go it alone. So the way that I've overcome any obstacle is to ask for help. And that's where this kind of circles back to mentorship. I lean into my mentors to ask for help and guidance. So a specific obstacle would be, the current role I'm in right now. I've been in it for 3 years, but when I first took on the role, it was my first leadership role. And I was a female. There were not many females on our leadership team. And so while I had never experienced anything that made me feel less than or different being a female, as a female, it's very hard to separate yourself from that component of your identity.
Right.
So I knew that coming into this role was my first leadership role. I knew that I appeared younger than a lot of the people that were my peers. I knew that I was a woman showing up in a very male-oriented place, especially on the leadership team. The obstacle was, how do I show up here and build credibility and do that quickly, because if I can't do that, it's going to be really hard for me to be successful. I need these people to buy in to what I'm selling, right? Um, and so that's where I leaned into my mentors and I sought guidance and I tried things. Some things worked, some
Mhm.
things didn't work. One of the things I tried was establishing personal connections with people, right? So just getting to know them, setting up one-on-one time, understanding what their goals were, what motivates them, and trying when I could to convey what motivates me and what my goals were in my job. And then I think over time, your results speak for themselves. So if you can, like I mentioned that book, The First 90 Days and getting some quick wins, if you can get some quick wins where people can see the impact pretty early on, then that helps going towards that. The results speak for themselves. That helps to build credibility. And that's really going to be helpful for you in your first leadership role. Or if you're not in a leadership role, but you're in a team member role and you want to make sure that you're doing the best you can and supporting your leaders, I think that again, asking for help is a really good way to overcome obstacles you experience.
And I'm sure you have visions and goals. So where do you see yourself? Where do you envision yourself 3 years from now? Because I would be interested. Where do you see yourself?
I think, so I mentioned that my career has been pretty linear, where I've, started in a certain role, moved up to the next level, up to the next level, up to the next level, which meant that there was just a growing amount of responsibility and a growing amount of topics and issues and tenets of HR that I had to learn, which has been really important, go from narrow to wide. But then I think as I grow in the next 3 years, I have an opportunity to go narrow again.
Mhm.
Now that I have such a broad skill set, I know what really makes me tick and what gets me out of bed in the morning and what I'm really excited about. So I envision myself in 3 years potentially seeking out a position that was more focused on culture and diversity, equity, and inclusion, or more focused on specific components of HR and where that's all I do, rather than right now, I'm very broad and I do
Mhm.
on any given day 25 different things. So I
Mhm.
see myself now that I've kind of, like I said, gone from narrow to really wide, getting to pivot and go narrow and focus on what I'm really passionate about.
So let's say the White House were to call you and say, hey, you know what? You're doing a great job. We saw you on the Women Are Worthy show, Women Are Worthy Network, plug, plug, plug. And we think we would like you to head up, we're going to put something in administration or legislative, something about HR. We're going to give you whatever it is that you want. We're only going to give you two things that you can choose from, that we will back it. We will put it into every company. Just come up with something because you're competent and we know you want to change things in HR or make it more pleasing to people, because when they hear HR, they think they're either being written up or something. So what two things, if you got the phone call and you're heading this up, what two things would you like to see accomplished?
This is a very hard question. I know one thing for sure, which is that I would want to have paid parental leave in every single company. I think that is an area where America lags behind a lot of other nations. And I see a lot of working parents who really struggle and who want the opportunity to be at home in the earliest stages of their children's lives. And honestly, it makes them better employees. The skills that you gain from being a parent are very much applicable to the workplace.
Mhm.
But I think people need to be able to feel secure and like their job is secure and get paid at the same time while they're on leave. So that is one that's really, really important to me. I think the other thing that I would want to see, and I think we may be heading in this direction, would be some level of mandatory bias training and sensitivity training in all companies, because training doesn't solve everything, but it is something that can help towards changing the culture of a company if everybody can get on the same page about a specific topic, such as recognizing unconscious bias and having sensitivity to different cultures and different backgrounds. That's a big step forward in being able to make it more the fabric of your culture. So those would probably be my two initiatives and that I would
And
work
I
really
like them
hard for.
because what you're doing is what I'm hearing with the second one. Let's create a dialogue. We're going to have uncomfortable conversations, but let's create a dialogue, and not just create a dialogue. This will be results driven. So that's what I think. We need to create a dialogue, particularly in companies. So I like what you're saying. So it's just, I just find you so interesting. I think if the companies, and I've worked for great companies, but I think if we had you in every single company I work for, oh my goodness, because
Thank
you
you.
have fresh ideas, and it's something that's going to be good for the company and also for the employee. Because it should be a family environment. Because when I was living on the road, I spent more time at work, and I always tell people I created a bubble. Wherever I am, I've created a bubble, and I call it Santa Claus, unicorns, and gumdrops and rainbows. And I excluded leprechauns for a reason, but this is the bubble that I'm creating because I'm all about positivity. I'm allergic to negativity. I never got involved in office gossip, and I've always worked with majority men. So for me, I created that little bubble. No matter what was going on, you couldn't go through that bubble because I had my blinders on, because I knew what was going on there. I didn't want to step out of my bubble because I thought it was the crazy land. So I think if we had these discussions, and we've had good people in our HR as well, but I just like this new way of what people are thinking, and the diversity, inclusion, and also about the culture, because you could be working with someone, but you really don't know them, and you're spending more time at work. And I always tell people, if I'm spending so much time at work, I got to enjoy myself. I don't want it to be my boss is micromanaging me. It has to give me, and I want my boss to know who I am, because I think when you know who I am, you know how to talk to me. So I really admire what you're doing. So other than going for walks, what do you do on your day off, when it's probably very rare, but what do you do on your day off other than, your plants, and what else do you do? Like, who is Elise?
So if I have a day off, I love to spend the day with my husband and my pets. We don't have children at this time. So it's really very much about spending time with him and with our little fur family. I live in Atlanta, so I do love to explore the city where I live. I love going to the botanical garden here.
Mhm.
So that's something that I would do. I love sitting outside at restaurants, especially now. Coming out of the pandemic, I'm really looking forward to eating outdoors at restaurants again. So that's something that I like to do. I think it's really just anything that's adventurous. Also, I like to hike. So I know that's walking, but walking in nature, a
Right.
little more challenging. That's something that I like to do as well. And then spending time with my family. They're nearby in Georgia as well. So.
What would you like your legacy? What would you like to be known as? When you retire, what would you like the world to know about Elise?
I would like to be known as someone who truly cared and who really saw and understood the people that she worked with and that she was in relationships with. I want people to feel like when they interact with me, it's a really important interaction and that I'm there on purpose because I want to be there with them. And so I would want people to remember how I made them feel.
Now, for someone watching and they're in school and they're like, I like this, I like Elise, I want to get into HR. How can they go about doing this? Like, what steps would tips would you tell them and give them?
I think one good place to start would be there are HR certifications you can get. And in some professions, certifications are just letters after your name and they don't carry a lot of knowledge with them. But in HR, you can get a PHR when you're very earlier in your career. And then as you get more senior, an SPHR, senior professional of human resources. And with those certifications, you actually have to go through a very rigorous test, and there's a lot of information you need to know for those tests. That information will be so helpful to you in your career, everything that you learn, that I would actually encourage people to consider going for that early certification. There are also societies that you can join. So the Society for Human Resources Management, SHRM is what
Sure.
most people call it. I would also become a member there. I think it costs $200 to become a member of your local chapter. You can join global, like the global membership, but the local chapter is where you're going to meet people and where you're going to really learn about HR within your business community. So I think those are two places I would encourage people to start.
Well, I want you to, what life lesson were you that someone told you that still resonates to today? And also, what gems were you given with regards to career that resonates to today?
So, one piece of advice was, in HR, you often are the recipient of a lot of complaints, right?
Mm.
There can actually be a lot of negativity in the role because you're usually the place people have to go to vent negativity in the workplace. And that can really take its toll on you. And so, advice I got from one of my mentors was to take that negativity, take all that feedback, and put it inside a bubble. Visualize it inside a bubble or a clear ball, and then place that ball right on your back and watch it just roll right off. And
Yeah, I like
that
that.
that visualization has always stuck with me and has really helped me because ultimately it's not yours. You're there to help solve problems, but it is not yours to own, right?
Mhm.
And if you do own it, it's just going to bring you way down.
Mhm.
So that's been really important. And then in terms of, career nuggets of wisdom, I would say, again, it all goes back to mentorship, which is get mentors or sponsors, people who are really willing to put their neck out for you to help you advance your career, and people who are willing to really help guide you and coach you through your career. Without those, it's very lonely, especially when you get into leadership roles. It's lonely in leadership roles. And if you don't have people you can call on, you can feel really lost.
And see, and that's what I call what I'm doing, finding your tribe. Find like minded people who are here, not just to take water from your well, but also to put back, into the well. So I have this thing that's called We're in the Same Book, different chapters. As long as you're reading the book, that's what I'm concerned about. But we have to make sure that we're helping people. And when you get to the top, you pull another woman with you. Because, and then not only that, because it's so often that we get leaders, someone who's never had the position, and they're not being mentored, and the company falls apart. They don't know what they're doing. They have the position, but we have to take time to remember that it would be nice to have one to mentor them, because nowadays there's not really a training thing on most jobs. The training sessions, you in it, you got to go, 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 go. You figure it out. It's not. I remember years ago there was a training session. It would be a whole week in HR, and it's not that way anymore. It's like, here's a manual, sign off, send it back. So it's important, again, because I believe it's important for me to mentor people, as important for me to have mentors, people to hold me accountable. And if I'm at a rough patch, there's someone who's like, Jackie, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Because like you said, it's lonely. And I don't believe with women, it's a competition for me and another woman. I believe it's collaboration. That's how I look at things, because I don't fall into that thing about fall for that women, we're crabs in a barrel. I stay away from those kind of comments, because I'm into energies, and sometimes you attract who you really are. So that's how I look at things. Um, you are just I just love your woo-sa spirit. I just love you because you have this calming spirit. So if someone's coming to you and they're like, I can see you have the ability of de-escalating situations. I see that just by talking to you in your presence right now. I just love what you're doing, and I see so many things ahead for you because yeah, you should be one of those going around the country speaking about what you're doing. Definitely, you need to, because I think a lot of HR, again, I don't have complaints, but I hear from other people that it would be great if we can have someone who can speak to other people in the HR environment, in the SHRM environment to help. So I really respect what you're doing and how you're doing it. So, any lasting messages or information you want to give the people who are watching it? Again, we have Miss Elise. She's the director of HR, and she's known for her tactical focus on results. Okay, and I mean results. This is not just fluff stuff. She gets results. So any gems you want to drop before we sign off?
I'm going to say it one more time. Find a mentor, maybe more than one, and take me seriously with this advice because it will change your professional life. So that is, again, the thing I will leave you with that I started with, which is, again, find a mentor and really listen to them.
You've just been a pleasure, and I just thank you again for taking time to be on the show. We wanted, because we're also mindful of people's time. It's a beautiful day, the sun is out. We want people to just enjoy, the life that they have. And again, we want to remind people to go ahead and hit that subscribe, hit that like button, comment on that button, and share, share, share. I think this is going to be, not think, this is some information that can help you, not just in HR. You can take this through your life, even if you're not in HR. And for those of you that have your own company, believe it or not, you're HR too. So, you're hiring and, you're getting people on board. So just listen to the information. And Elise, we want to thank you for joining us on the Women Are Worthy Network. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the Women Are Worthy Network. So without further ado, we want to thank everyone. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to wear your mask. Don't forget to sanitize, social distancing, and we just want everyone to be blessed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.